$6.25. That's what the sandwich costs from the vending machine outside the break trailer. You know this because you buy it every night at 10:50, right before your shift starts. Same machine, same button, same sandwich that's a little too cold in the middle no matter how long you leave it out. You work forklift operator at a distribution center outside Reno, second shift. The kind of job where your knees know the concrete better than your brain knows the inventory system anymore. Your check lands every other Thursday, $19 an hour. After taxes, about $1,120 every 2 weeks. You've done the math so many times the math does itself now. Rent is $740 for a one-bedroom above a nail salon that closes at 7 and somehow still smells like acetone at midnight. Truck payment, insurance, groceries if you're careful. What's left isn't nothing. It's just small enough that it doesn't get spent. It gets watched. One night in March, you're at the vending machine and your phone buzzes. A guy from receiving, Desmond, is showing everyone a screenshot. Some crypto thing. He made $600 overnight. He's grinning like he cracked a code the rest of the world missed. You don't say anything. You nod, but something sticks. Not the $600, the certainty in his voice. Like the money had been sitting there the whole time waiting for him to notice it. You go home that morning and don't sleep right away. You open your banking app instead. $840 sitting in savings. Been there 11 months, earning something like 14 cents a month. You'd never actually looked at that number before. Now you can't stop looking at it. You open a brokerage account at 6 a.m. still in your work boots. It asks questions you half understand. Risk tolerance, time horizon. You pick the middle option every time. You buy $250 of an index fund with a name you can't pronounce. You press confirm. Nothing happens. No sound, no congratulations, just a number that said $840 now saying $590 in one place and $250 in another place you can't touch without a form and a waiting period. You almost feel like you did something wrong. You didn't. You just did something invisible. And invisible is the part nobody warns you about. 3 years in, the sandwich still costs $6.25. Almost everything else changed quietly enough that you didn't notice until now. Your account isn't $250 anymore. It's $9,400. You didn't win anything. You just kept moving $60, then $80, then $100 every payday without asking your mood for permission. One Tuesday, you checked the app out of habit, not curiosity. A line you've never paid attention to. Dividend received, $3.80. You laugh once, not because it's funny, because it's small enough to be a joke and real enough not to be. Almost exactly what the sandwich costs. Your thumb moves toward the vending machine app before you catch it. Instead, you let it reinvest. You didn't work for that $3.80. You didn't clock in for it. You slept, and the money showed up anyway. Desmond gets a truck that spring, the kind with chrome that catches light in the lot. Everybody walks over on break to look at it. Later in the break room, you hear him on the phone. Quiet voice, something about the payment being higher than he thought. But it's fine, it's handled. You don't say anything. You go back to your locker. 7 years in, your account crosses $61,000 that November. You check it Sunday morning, sandwich in hand. Same $6.25, though you buy it from a gas station now since your route changed. You don't tell anyone the number. There's no version of a break room conversation built for that sentence. The drop starts on a Monday. By Wednesday, you're down 9%. By the following week, 16%. Translated into dollars, that's $9,760 gone in a season. More than 4 years of your old rent. Your thumb hovers over sell one night, standing at the machine, sandwich unwrapped in your other hand. One tap and the bleeding stops. At least the part you can see. You don't tap it. It isn't confidence. Your chest is tight the same way it gets before a review. But some half-remembered sentence says the loss isn't real until you make it real. So you don't make it real. You put the phone away. Fear and patience feel almost exactly the same in the chest. Same tightness, same pull toward doing something just to make the feeling stop. The only difference is what you do next. One costs you money. The other just costs you a bad week. Desmond hears about the drop from the news, not from you. He laughs a little too hard at lunch, says that's why he keeps his money where he can see it. You nod. You don't correct him. His savings account earns about 9 cents a month. You've done that math before, back when it was your money sitting still. 6 weeks later, the market climbs back. Not all the way, but enough. The shares you bought during the worst week, the ones that felt like the wrong week to buy anything, are already worth more than you paid. You don't celebrate. You just notice, quietly, the way you noticed the $3.80 years ago. 15 years in, your supervisor, a woman named Renato who's run the floor for over a decade, calls you into the office, the one with a door that closes. She offers you a lead position, more pay, about $8,000 a year before taxes, more hours too, weekends during peak season. 10 years ago, you'd have said yes before she finished the sentence. You ask for a few days to think instead. She blinks, slightly thrown. People at your level are supposed to want this. Driving home, you open the spreadsheet you've kept since you were 24. 2 columns, what the job pays, what the account pays. The raise lands around $550 a month after taxes. Your accounts, combined, paid out just over $480 last month in dividends and interest, without you touching anything. $480 for doing nothing versus $550 for giving up your weekends. You sit with that math longer than you expect to. You don't take the position. You tell Renata you appreciate it, but you're good where you are. She nods, moves to the next name on her list. Nobody throws you a parade for turning down more money. Nobody even notices, except you. Desmond takes a second job that year, weekends at an auto parts store, trying to cover the truck and something else you never quite hear the details of. You see him sometimes at the grocery store in his auto parts vest, tired in a way that has nothing to do with sleep. You don't feel superior. You just notice the shape of 2 different weeks side by side. 22 years in. The rumor starts in February, a reorganization. Nobody knows exactly what it means, but everybody's seen one before. You're not worried, not the way you'd have been at 26, but you notice the fear in other people's voices, and you remember exactly what that sounded like from the inside, because you used to sound like that too. Desmond's shift gets cut from 5 days to 3. The truck payment doesn't shrink to match it. You slight him the name of the guy at your bank who helped you set up your first automatic transfer, back before either of you had anything worth transferring. You don't make it a lesson. You mention it the way you'd mention a good mechanic. He doesn't take you up on it yet. Maybe later. You don't push. Your accounts pass $310,000 that spring. The number stopped being the interesting part a while ago. What's interesting now is the question sitting underneath it. You could leave. You've run the math 3 separate ways: conservative, average, generous, and all 3 hold. You don't leave. Not because you're scared, but because you're not sure yet what you'd do with a Tuesday that didn't have a shift in it. 22 years is a long time to build a life around showing up somewhere. You start spending an hour on Thursday evenings helping a 20-year-old on first shift named Dana understand her new retirement account paperwork. Nobody asked you to. She mentioned she didn't understand the match percentage, and you just started explaining it the way somebody should have explained it to you at 23, if anybody had known to. 28 years in. Dana finds you on a Thursday, except this time she's not asking about paperwork. She's 26 now. Her account crossed $38,000 last week. She sounds a little embarrassed saying the number out loud, the same way you were embarrassed for the first 10 years of doing this. You tell her that's not a small number. She doesn't believe you yet. That's fine. You didn't believe it either, back when it was $840 sitting still in a savings account and you couldn't stop looking at it. You're 52 now. Renata retired last year. Her replacement asks your opinion on things the way people used to ask Renata's. Your account sits somewhere past $890,000. You don't check the exact figure every Sunday anymore. Some weeks you forget for 10 days straight. That would have been unthinkable at 23, refreshing the app like it might change its answer if you asked enough times. That's the part nobody tells you about arriving somewhere. You stop needing to check. Not because you stopped caring, because the checking was never really about the number. It was about needing proof the thing was real. Eventually, the thing gets so real it doesn't need proving anymore. Desmond retired last spring too, a little earlier than planned, on the back of a pension in a house that's finally paid off. He stopped by a few weeks ago to see old faces, looked rested in a way you hadn't seen him in years. You didn't compare notes on money. You never did, not once in 28 years. He just asked about your niece and you asked about his grandkids, and that was the whole conversation. And it was enough. You still buy the sandwich most nights, $6.25, though the machine's been replaced twice and the price crept up somewhere along the way without you noticing exactly when. Discipline compounds the same way money does. Nobody tells you that part either. The habit of not reacting, of showing up quietly and consistently, of choosing the steady thing over the loud thing, 28 years of that doesn't just build an account. It builds the person capable of building the account in the first place. Dana asks you that same Thursday what she should do next. You tell her the only thing you've ever really known to be true. Keep the transfer running. Don't check it out of fear. Check it out of curiosity if you have to check it at all. That's the whole answer. It always was. Somewhere at that same distribution center right now, there's a 23-year-old you've never met, standing at a vending machine that cost $1 more than it used to, staring at a banking app on a break at 10:50 at night. He doesn't feel like he's starting anything. He just feels tired of watching a number sit still. His thumb is already hovering over the button. You already know what happens after that.